Hi, I'm Jake, and I've been drawing Pokemon since I was 7 years old. In today's video, we're going back to the Fakemon region that's inspired by Greece. We're going to be taking a tour around one of the first islands of the region, and in each location, I'll be showing you some of the Fakemon that you can find there. If you're interested in where you can find Fakemon like these, stick around to the end of the video. I think it's about time that I finally named my Fakemon region. So welcome to the Iopa region. And what you're seeing on your screen now is just one of the many islands that are found throughout the Iopa region. This island happens to be where we're going to start our journey. So buckle in, get some snacks. This is going to be a long video as we take a tour around the first island. We'll take a look at some of the towns, routes and key locations that you'll visit on your journey, as well as some of the Pokemon that you'll find along the way. You'll set off on your journey from your hometown of Odessa Town. The first island of the region is based on Crete, and Odessa Town is inspired by Hania. I chose Hania because it has these different coloured houses that I thought would work well with your player house, your rival's house, the professor's house. In Odessa Town is where you'd pick up your starter Pokemon. So let me know if you're picking Budcub, Calicaftos or Aristotle. After leaving Odessa Town with your new starter Pokemon, you journey on to Route 1 called Odyssey Gorge, which is inspired by Samaria Gorge in the real life Crete. We've already met all of the Route 1 Pokemon in some of my older videos, but just to recap in case you missed them, you can find the normal type Gekarus, the ground type Furopu, the flying type Flufo, and the bug and normal type Tigerpillar. Odyssey Gorge connects Odessa Town to Miramore Town, which is a slightly bigger port town than Odessa Town. Miramore Town is inspired by the real place called Rethymno. Connected to this is Miramore Beach, which is where we'll actually find our first new Pokemon for this video. As we all know, Greece is a popular tourist spot, especially in summer, so I wanted to make a Fakemon that could represent that, and the way I thought to do it was to do a backpack or a pouch or some kind of suitcase Pokemon. I wanted it to kind of look like a coin purse as well, so that it could lie on the floor and people would go and pick it up but then be surprised that it's actually a Pokemon, which made me think of things like Voltorb and Fungus, so I decided to make it Pokeball coloured. So when you bend down to pick up an item, you might be surprised by a wild Pochette, the mimic Pokemon. It lures in curious people by disguising itself as a drop purse. When people reach to pick it up, it snaps at their fingers. Pochette is a pure dark type Pokemon with the ability Pick Up. It knows moves like Lick and Bite because the top of its head is actually its mouth, as you can see by its tongue coming out. For Pochette Shiny, I went with a blue, similar to Voltorb, and it also reminds me of a Great Ball. When I started making Pochette's evolution, I knew I wanted to make a suitcase or a chest. But to give it a bit more of a Greek theme, I thought I could tie in themes of Pandora's box. So I wanted it to be leaking these monstrous parts to imply that inside the chest was this horrible monster. I had a bit of trouble with the posing for this one, but in the end I settled on this design, where it looks quite understated. This is Pandoraphage, the mimic Pokemon. Pandoraphage's outer casing is extremely durable. Children are warned to run away when they open their mouths. Pandoraphage's name comes from Pandora's box and phage, which is Greek meaning to eat. I also wanted it to be almost like the Wobbuffet of the region, which is why I gave it Mirror Coat and Counter. Basically, a Pokemon that you're really going to regret bumping into. For its shiny, I carried on with that blue colour scheme. For the eagle-eyed of you, you might have spotted it has a new ability called Moorbreaker. This is where the link to Pandora's box comes in, because when Pandoraphage is hit by a physical attack, its jaws will swing open and reveal the horrors that are inside it. I wanted to make this dark type quite scary, or at least try to, which is why I gave it the odd number of eyes, those weirdly long tentacles, the horrific teeth, and that void of a body that just wants to swallow things whole. So this is Pandoraphage's open form. Its mouth is an endless void of darkness. Anyone who sees its open mouth is filled with despair and regret. In this form, its attack and defense and special attack and special defense are flipped. So if you survive the horrors of Miramore Beach, you'll move on to Route 2, which is Anemo Plateau, and this is inspired by Lascithi Plateau, I think it's called. On Anemo Plateau, you'll find Gekarus, Furopu, Flufo, and the electric type Voltine, as well as one new Fakemon. July 2023 was when I had the first idea to make a Greek salad Fakemon, and that's what kicked my brain into thinking of this whole region, all from this salad. I really like the concepts, but I didn't think that they just looked right. I think they just looked a bit too weird, which is why I went with the idea of the grass girlies instead. So every region seems to have this feminine grass type, excluding Kalos. So that's the route that I took the design. Learning from my mistakes of my regional variant of Vanillish, I wanted to make sure that the design evolved with the Pokemon rather than just evolving into a bigger salad. So the base stage was just going to be a pure lettuce Pokemon. And this is Letiki, the lettuce Pokemon. A shy and timid Pokemon, it wraps its crisp leaves around itself to protect it from harm. They like to live near vegetation, so often live in gardens and farms. Think of this guy as like the Bounsweet or Budew of the region. For its shiny, I thought it would be cool to turn it into a cabbage and give it these pale purple colours. My problem now was transforming a literal lettuce into a feminine bipedal Pokemon, and I really struggled with the posing, but in the end I'm really happy with how it turned out. Because I'd made Letiki just a lettuce Pokemon, it allowed me to add more vegetables, I guess, to its evolution's design. So I added olives and onions because they're common ingredients found in the Greek salad. Introducing Tomaden, the salad Pokemon. Its body is made of nutrient-rich parts which often fall off as it walks. These add to the soil's fertility. I forgot to say, but I also gave this evolution line the shed skin ability, which I know is usually reserved for bug types, but lettuces and onions have layers, so I thought it fit. Tomaden's shiny also keeps that cabbage colour, and I just shifted the colours of the other vegetables around. To finish off the storytelling of this evolution line, it went from a lettuce to a salad and now to a waitress, and that's the theme for the final evolution. I gave it a big leaf on its front to look like an apron and had it in this running pose as if it was going to serve someone an oranberry. Going into this design, I wanted to really differentiate it from the existing grass feminine Pokemon. I feel like they always make them very slimline, so I wanted to make this a bit more curvier. I also wanted to convey that it's got a very kind personality, which I hope that its face does imply. Throughout the evolution line, its HP has been the largest stat. I also wanted it to kind of be like the Chansey or Audino of the region, so I gave it some healing moves too. So this is Dimitella, the salad Pokemon. Dimitella have a very caring personality. They will rip off revitalizing leaves from its body to heal wounded Pokemon or weary travellers. I personally love this evolution line, and I think I've really improved from the idea of a convergent or regional Vanillish. I think I've managed to distinguish it from the other grass-type feminine Pokemon. Let me know in the comments if you think I did too. Here's Dimitella's shiny, keeping up with that cabbage colour theme. After strolling through the fields of Anemo Plateau, you'll arrive at the base of Mount Zeta. Mount Zeta is the tallest mountain on this island, and right at the top is a cave called Zenith Cave, but for now, that's out of bounds. So let's meet some of the Pokemon that you'll meet on your climb up to the top of the mountain. Crete is well known for having its own species of wild goat called Kri-Kris or ibexes. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to reuse these old designs from my previous region called Jasos. I wanted to stick with making them steel types, but making them quite agile, as if they were able to climb mountains and jump from cliff to cliff with ease. My first design on the left just looked like a goat really, it wasn't Pokemon enough, but I think that this new design conveys what the Pokemon is all about and also gives it a much more interesting silhouette. In the end, I've made an agile steel-type Pokemon, which you don't often find, I don't think. So when you climb up Mount Zeta, you'll meet Kri-Kri, the rock climber Pokemon. Kri-Kri spend their whole lives on steep cliffs. Because of this, they are agile climbers and able to jump from ledge to ledge. I gave it the ability Light Metal to link to its theme. Its name comes from Kri-Kri, and Skri is a pile of rubble, often found at the side of mountains. I made it that coppery colour to try and emphasise the fact that it's a steel type and not a normal type, and that's why I made the shiny this blue colour, as if the copper has oxidised. For Kri-Kri's evolution, I went fully in with this silhouette method to map out what was in my head. I had this idea of this goat that just sort of owned the mountain. It knew where to jump, it knew what ledges were safe, where to avoid, and that's what this Pokemon does. I toyed with giving it a more bipedal design, similar to that of Gruffinox that I made in my last video, but in the end I'm really happy that I stuck with this quadrupedal look. I carried on the colours from the previous evolution, just making its horns much more larger and more like the real life animal that inspired the design. This is Iboxide, the rock climber Pokemon. They can climb near vertical cliffs with ease. They are incredibly agile and able to leap over huge canyons. I had to stick with that gorgeous blue colour for the shiny, I really like that. And this has actually turned out to be one of my favourite Pokemon that I've made. It's really interesting how I feel like I've managed to turn a normal, boring goat into quite an interesting Pokemon, in my opinion anyway. For the second new evolution line that you'll find climbing up Mount Zeta, I wanted to also remake another old Fakemon from my JSOS region. This is a pet rock that turns into a rock dinosaur. I don't know where the concept came from, but it's one of my old favourites. So starting off with the first evolution, I thought about trying to make it much more pet-like, but I didn't think it looked like its next evolution. I tried stacking them on top of each other because that's a key part of this design. They're inspired by stacking pebbles as well as pet rocks. Introducing Proc, the pebble Pokemon. They are very dormant Pokemon. It needs a trainer to move it very long distances. People often stack them on top of each other for fun. I gave Proc a base 10 speed stat to link to its Pokedex entry, and for the shiny, I just changed the colours to slightly different rock colours. Nothing special behind it. For Proc's evolution, I wanted to update this old design to be much more energetic, instead of just a sideways on stud boring pose. And I also wanted to tie in a bit more of that stacking pebbles idea. At some point in your life, I'm sure that you've seen a stack of pebbles, either just for fun on the beach, or as a cairn, which is like a man-made stack of pebbles used for navigation or a memorial. Introducing Kri-Kri, the pebble Pokemon. Only experienced hikers can tell the difference between a stack of rocks and a sleeping Kri-Kri. I kept with the same defensive but slow stats and the same shiny as well because I'm boring like that. For the final evolution, I actually used a bit of Greek mythology for this Pokemon. So you might have seen at the start of this video that I had an island, and that island is called Dia, which is just off the coast of Crete. And the myth goes that Zeus's thunderbolt turned a giant lizard, or a dragon I think, into stone, which became the island of Dia. So I tried to make the outline of this Pokemon similar to that island, just to give it a bit more visual interest really, but also link it to the Greek theme so it fits in this region. The first time I actually heard about this myth was when I visited Crete, and I think it might have been one of the locals or the hotel workers. When I asked them what that island in the distance was, they pointed out that it was Dia and told me about this myth. Diazolith, the living mountain Pokemon. Diazolith tower over many other Pokemon. Their spines are mistaken for moving mountains. So this is the first dragon type of the region. The original design for this Pokemon was one of my favourites in my old region, but this redesign is just perfection in my eyes. Rock type is one of my other favourite types, alongside bug and steel, and ice. It's an odd combination and I think about it. And here's the shiny. I would love to know how you guys pick shiny colours, but because half of the time I just pick what looks cool. So here's all the Pokemon that you can find climbing up Mount Zeta. We've got Gekarus, Flufo, Kri-Kri, Proc, and at night, Vrightbat. Shameless plug here, but Vrightbat was made at the end of my Fatetober challenge, so if you haven't seen my I made a Fakemon every day for a month video, please go check it out. After you manage your climb up Mount Zeta, you come down the other side into the Colossal Ruins, which is Route 3 of this region. It's inspired by the Knossos ruins. Amongst the ruins you'll find Grud, Buzzybody and Pochette, as well as one other new Fakemon. The most famous myth of Crete is the myth of the Minotaur, which was this monster that was half bull, half human, and it was hidden away by the king of the island in a labyrinth. I feel like no Greek-inspired Fakemon region would be complete without a Minotaur Pokemon, but I felt conscious that I already had a lot of mammalian Fakemon, so I went with this amphibian and made a bullfrog Pokemon. Introducing Tadtor, the bullfrog Pokemon. They attack by leaping headfirst at anything that comes too close. Over time, their warts harden and sharpen into horns. Essentially, it's a frog with horns and a black body with red eyes to represent a bull. They're pure fighting type with the ability Anger Point, because essentially they're these little angry frogs that will headbutt anything. I was really struggling with the colour scheme and I didn't know what secondary colour to pick, so in the end I went with that green just because frogs are green. But for the shiny I went with white because there's a myth about Zeus turning into a white bull. For its evolution, I was going to go with a bipedal design, but I felt like it was done. Poliwrath, Seismitoad, Politoad, they all stand on two legs. And I wanted to convey that it was a bull at heart that charged towards people horn first. which is why I went for this mid-jump pose and angled it downwards as if it was coming crashing down towards you. If you think of the design in terms of its silhouette, I think it might actually look like a bull, maybe a bull wearing flippers. At level 25, Tadtor will evolve into Minotaur, the bullfrog Pokemon. Using its powerful legs, it launches itself horn first, flattening anything in its way. Think of this guy as a mix between Primeape and Poliwrath, except it attacks with horns instead of punches. For the shiny, I kept with that white bull theme. So after exploring the ruins of Route 3 and dodging headbutts from flying bullfrogs, you will make it to Heracles City, which is home to Heracles Harbour, where you'll catch a boat to your next island and continue your adventure. I've saved one or two other Fakemon lines for future videos, but for now, here's the bulk of the Pokemon that you can find on this first island. There's lots of other mysteries to unfold, like, are there any gym leaders on this island? Where does the boat at Heracles Harbour take you to? And what's found in Zenith Cave? But that's all things that we'll explore in future videos. But for now, that's the end of the video, and thank you so much if you got this far in. I know it's been a long one, and I'm recording this voiceover at 1 in the morning, so sorry if I sound a bit sleepy. It's really hard to balance a hobby with working full time and being a dad at home as well. Plus my life is a bit chaotic because we're trying to move house, and anyway, I'm not going to bore you with all that. I hope you really enjoyed this style of video. I personally loved it, and I think that I'll be adopting it for my future videos too. Please let me know down in the comments if you like this style, and also let me know if you're going to be catching any of these Pokemon for your team. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!